he told me that about a kid that graduated high school, and he knew that he was going to be a murderer. And he said, and damned if it wasn't 5 years later, he said, I'm watching the news, and they're pulling body bags out from underneath his house in Florida. And as we would drink, and he's telling me these stories, and he told me that he knew that I needed to live while I could, because I was going to be dead by the time I was 23. And I didn't want to ask any questions because I didn't want to know anymore. I didn't want to hear it. So pretty fearful of him as well. But you don't want to distance yourself because you don't have anybody else. And he molested me. He molested me at that house. The difference in what happened to you and what happened to me is the shame that I hold is pretty heavy, because I know that I could have said no, but I was so scared that I didn't. And we're sitting at the shop at carpentry class, about 10:30 at night. Him and I are drinking 6-pack of beer. He's telling some story. Funny dude, little guy, strong as shit, but really, really likable guy. He's telling this story. And when he stops, we're about this far apart from each other, and he looks at me and he said, "Are you going to sleep with me, or you want to go home?" And I looked at him and I said, "Spence," I said, "I'm not like that." And I said, "It's never going to happen again." And he didn't take his eyes off me. He just continued to look at me. And he said, "All right." He said, "I'm going to ask you a question." I said, "Okay." He said, "If you ever had to get rid of somebody, how would you do it?" I said, "I don't know. Wouldn't ever want to do anything like that." He said, "I know, but if you had to, how would you do it?" I said, "I don't know, Spence." He said, "Do you want to know how I'd do it?" I said, "No, sir." And he said, "I'd drill a 40-foot hole." And he held out his arms and he touched his tips, and he said, "I'd drill a hole just about as big around as your body, and I'd drop you down it head first." He said, "There's a lot of land out there where you guys built my home. I kick a piece of plywood over that, nobody'd ever find your body, Garrett." And he had this big stack of keys. He's another guy that placed himself, man. Constantine Theater is one of the renovation projects that we did around a bunch of kids that were in plays and stuff like that. And I would work with him there. But he had those keys sitting on this desk, and as soon as he said, "Nobody'd ever find your body," he snatched those keys off the desk and said, "Let's get you home." And he stood up and he took me to my grandmother's